Did you know that all experiences in your life are for you? Welcome to Soul Musings, exploring and embracing higher perspectives with me, Dr. Connie. Discover how every experience is an opportunity for spiritual expansion when we observe and use them from the higher perspective of our soul. Explore how we can create more alignment in our lives by focusing on the essence of the experience we want, rather than the form. Learn about ways of living and working together that can build a more harmonious and cooperative world. In each episode, we share awarenesses and tools that you can use in your own soul's journey to create more love, peace, and joy. Soul Musings starts now. So hi, everyone, and welcome to Soul Musings, exploring and embracing higher perspectives. And we're going to start like we do everything with just a moment to get centered. So if you want to, you can put your heart on your chest. And now just imagine a beautiful white or gold or whatever color resonates with you, light coming from the highest place you can imagine, down through the top of your head into all of your levels of consciousness, all the parts of your body, every cell being energized by that beautiful light, pushing out any negativity, anything you no longer need, and just see and feel that peace and love and joy that you are as you center in your heart. And then in your perfect timing, just come present with us here. So I'm really excited to be doing this episode of Higher Perspective on Food and Farming. And why food and farming? Well, for me, it's really a potent area of life because it was food is medicine, and the actually building the microbiome was a key to my healing health issues that I dealt with a lot of pain, a lot of dysfunction for about 6.5 years, going to about 10 different doctors who kept trying to kill the bugs and do things like that. And in fact, didn't get any better till I discovered some real key issues about health through Dr. Zach Bush, and we'll mention that later. But the idea of food of medicine goes way back to ancient Greece with Hippocrates, and ancient China too. And a lot of Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, is actually also incorporates that idea. So why farming, though? What does food have to do with farming? Well, we're going to be talking about something which you may or may not have heard of called regenerative agriculture. And I have my friend Bill Palmisano here with me, who's a semi-retired landscaper, educator, consultant who's worked for 40 plus years using organic growing methods and studying and applying soil biology to rejuvenate soil biome. So just to start off with a general idea about what regenerative agriculture is and why I consider it a higher perspective. Regenerative agriculture not only maintains resources, but improves them. It's about farming and ranching in harmony with nature in a style that nourishes people and the earth. The holistic principles behind the dynamic system of regenerative agriculture are meant to restore soil and ecosystem health, address inequality, and leave our land, waters, climate in better shape for future generations, as well as provide more healthy, nutrient-dense food. You know, and Bill, it was interesting when we started talking about you're coming on and doing an episode with all of the wealth of information you have in this area. And I said, well, you know, the show's got a spiritual focus. It's a higher perspective. And you said something like, you know, that's what I think this area needs, or that's so important. But just, you know, what say in your own words, you know, how you see that, how you see this area of farming and food as being somehow connected to spirit and spirituality.
Thank you. Well, I'll just go to the soil biome, the microbiome that lives in the soil. It's life, and life on Earth is interconnected. Every piece of life has either a direct or indirect effect on all other life. So that's a spiritual concept that we're all that
Connected.
that all life is is connected and communicates and helps itself out.
Yeah, like there's a wisdom in how God created it, right? And if we touch into that, we understand that interconnection
Oh
and how
yeah,
it's all designed. Yeah.
we can learn the wisdom of it, but trying to get in there and dicker with the program, I think, is futile and uh, just a waste of energy and dangerous.
So if we're, some people may have heard of regenerative, some people may have heard of organic, and it's usually talked about as organic regenerative. But they're not the same thing. But what are the problems that it addresses? What about conventional agriculture, the food that most of us eat from the grocery store, and even leaving out processed foods? And we're just looking at the food that's grown that we eat that's conventional and how that's grown. What are some of the problems with that from the point of view of the planet and also in terms of human health?
Well, conventional agriculture is on a constant treadmill of uh, uh, of fertilizers and pesticides and inputs and soil degradation, soil tilling,
Mm.
plowing, leveling, and just not what nature and nature in its own state, all by itself, outproduces the output of agriculture every time because nature is more efficient and uh, agriculture is trying to force nature to do something that it's not meant to do and cooperating
Conventional
with it.
conventional methods, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
conventional.
And in what I understand in terms of what I learned in terms of human health, and I learned this a lot from Zach, who went from being a cancer researcher to a nutrition clinic to getting into soil and regenerative agriculture as a solution for health. But when a lot of, he was talking about, I think around the World War II, there were so many victory gardens. A lot of people were growing their own foods. And then this whole mass wave of conventional agriculture came in. And what he shows are charts of just chronic illness, autism, everything are just skyrocketing with the use of those toxins and disturbing the microbiome. Anything else you can add to that in terms of that's what I learned and that's what I built, my protocols around in terms of my healing.
Yeah, poor uh, plant health and plant nutritional uh, levels are due to the soil microbiome. And if the soil is tilled and if it's filled with chemicals and even worse, poisons to life, the food that comes out of that soil is not going to be nutritious enough to keep people healthy.
Right, right. And I understand aside from using when you called it poisons, a lot of the pesticides are
Yep.
very toxic. The ones that are generally used have been lawsuits around that for cancers. Some people have won vast amount of monies. It's not a secret, but a lot of people don't know about that. So a lot of people may have heard of organic farming and certified organic farms and ones that maybe do the practices without the cost of certification. How is organic growing different? How does it do things differently that helps to start eliminating some of those issues?
Oh, yeah. Well, organic farming is superior to conventional farming in that it doesn't use pesticides and herbicides that are persistent and dangerous to people or other forms of life. There's a few organic pesticides, but they're not used very much. An organic grower doesn't depend on pesticides to keep his pests down. He depends on how he treats the soil and crop rotations and uh, catching things very early on, things like that. So uh, there isn't a toxic load and there's not poisons on organic food, and that's excellent. It's still, organic farmers still do a tremendous amount of tilling and weed control that disturbs the soil, and that hurts or
Mhm.
the soil microbiome. So it's not a panacea for soil microbiome, organic agriculture by any means, but legally it's a safe way to get food that's not poisoned.
So how does do organic farmers or organic agriculture, and we're going to go on to the addition of what regenerative does, but even just with organic, what do they do in place of pesticides? I mean, people are probably thinking, well, pesticides are to kill pests, right? What
Oh
do we
yeah.
do instead
Well,
that is going to make that's not the same issue? Yeah.
well, there's the pests, there's insects that are pests, and there's weeds that are pests. They're both pesticides, herbicides, and insecticides. Uh, the organic farmers aren't allowed to use chemical herbicides, so they depend a lot more on labor, laboriously
Hmm.
dealing with weeds by hand. There's a lot of hand weeding in organic agriculture, and also implements that weed too. But weeds are a problem if your soil is unbalanced and degraded, because weeds are
Oh,
nature's response to a highly degraded soil is weeds
wow.
to get something to cover the soil to protect it from sunlight and rain. And soil left alone will go through a whole transition from weeds to eventually a climax forest. But
Oh.
uh,
That
so,
wisdom of nature again, right?
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nature always bats last. It wins. So cooperating with it and helping it do little things in certain areas, we can really speed it up a lot and just stand back and let it work. It's a lot less energy and money. And anyway,
Hmm. Well, in general, then, what is, we're not with organic food, which, I've learned to buy and so, and I just want to put this in as a little caveat because a lot of people say, well, organic is often more expensive. And that can be true in the stores and whatever. For me, because it made such a difference in my health, it was actually much less expensive. It's like it depends on where the cost is, and I'm not not unempathetic to people's budgets. I understand that, but I'd rather put it into something that's actually going to nourish my body. In fact, I've read things about, some of the obesity in our culture is because people eat so much because there's no nutrient density in it. It
yeah,
doesn't have
exactly.
what the body's really looking for in terms of nourishment. So it's not a matter of just quantity substituting for actually good, healthy, nutrient dense food that the body is craving. So with all the good things that organic does, what does it leave out that we're talking about regenerative agriculture here today? I think
It,
you hinted at it with, yeah, but
it leaves out a lot of nature, really, because there there's a lot of soil prep and soil work and tilling and disking in organic agriculture, and that's uh, soil in nature doesn't get disturbed. It just sits there. And
mm,
the reason that soil is tilled, there's a couple reasons. One, to kill weeds, and another to create a seed bed or a small plant uh, conditions where that plant will grow very fast. And neither one of those are necessary in a natural soil situation. So getting from a tilled organic farm operation to a mostly no-till regenerative operation uh, isn't as hard as it used to be. There's a lot of new ways to uh, inoculate soil with the soil microbiome, so it uh, instantly really all of the microbes that are necessary for healthy plant growth are present in a soil that maybe hasn't had all those microbes together for decades or
because of the tilling and other methods.
because of tilling and chemicals.
You know,
Yes.
people are probably raising their eyebrows like farming with no tilling. What are you talking about? You know,
Uh,
it's like such a natural kind of thing, but
I know. It's soil science. You might till a 2-inch strip an inch deep to
Mhm.
start carrots or something like that, but not tilling 6 inches deep across the whole field. That's
But that's one of the things that messes with the microbiome, as you're saying.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. The soil is a cake, an in-place cake of a microbiome. And the microbiome, there's bacteria, little pieces, but then there's a lot of strings like uh, fungus that hold everything together. And so the uh, it's not meant to be disturbed. If it's disturbed, you're destroying uh, the the uh, the houses that the
Mm,
microbes live in, the transportation corridors. All that has to get rebuilt to
mhm.
help plants grow again. And it's rebuilt by the microbes. So every time you till, there's a tremendous amount of energy that's expended by the microbes to recreate a soil that can grow food, not one that can sprout a seed successfully.
Yes. And you know, it was just thinking maybe not everyone knows what microbiome means, but you started
Oh, yeah.
to elucidate that when you said the bacteria, the fungus, it's all those little microorganisms. What else is included that's important for
Yeah,
soil and the health?
there's six big, well, I say there's six basic types of soil organisms. Most bacteria, well, a lot of bacteria are bulletproof. You're never going to get rid of a lot of bacteria, but the specialty bacteria will disappear. And there's like 100,000 species of bacteria in a teaspoon of soil. Fungus are uh, important for a myriad of things, and they have little tiny roots. They're called hyphae, and they are just one cell thick. They're really tiny, but they're all over the soil. There's protozoa, which are single-celled animals. So it's an animal. It doesn't eat plants. It doesn't eat nutrients and sugar in that. It eats bacteria, fungus,
Mm,
anything that it can surround, mostly algae and little bacteria type things, but they're bigger. There's nematodes, which are roundworms, like an earthworm, only microscopic. And
mhm,
most of them eat bacteria, fungus, each other, and one particular branch has given nematodes a bad name forever, the ones that eat roots, but they're rare, and it's a sign of degraded soil
mm,
or a very weak plant. It's not a sign of a nematode herd that's going to go out and kill some trees. And microarthropods, which are microscopic, like insects, little
mhm,
insects that are so tiny you can't see them with your eye. They're all through the soil. And earthworms, you can
mhm.
see most earthworms. So, but that's the
And
six organisms, and they all work together, and that's it.
they work together to make the soil healthy
Yeah,
so that the food that's grown in that soil can absorb nutrients. And, you know, I just want to emphasize that because this is like my healing journey. Like everybody, you know, I think automatically, maybe not everybody, people, you know, think microbiome is wrong. All these little organisms, get rid of them, kill them, you know, type. And that's what the doctors were doing in my body. And I had to actually rebuild. The human body has a microbiome also. That the more diverse it is, you know, the healthier it is. It's not that these, like I think Zach said something wonderful once. He said, "You know, there's zillions of these microorganisms. If they wanted to get us, we'd be gone. You know, if they
oh
were
yeah,
really against us, they're not." And so it's when things get out of balance and certain things, you know,
yes,
oh,
yeah.
and that's where you want to honor how nature works. Is what
Our
I'm hearing from you.
our gut microbiome is a subset of the soil microbiome.
Hmm.
So our gut microbiome, all of the organisms in there came from soil originally, and it's uh, it it can, there's a technique to make compost that isn't rocket science. You just keep the compost aerobic, so it never gets anaerobic and smelly. It's always aerobic. It always has oxygen, and uh, if you you can use a lot of different materials in the compost that adds to the compost microbiome. And then when the compost is finished, that microbiome, if all those animals that I just named are all
Mhm.
in the compost, and they're actually the spores and that they're in the air, they're
Mhm.
everywhere. So your compost pile will pick up stuff much more than what you put in it, and everything that you put in it is coated with microbes also. Plants are coated from the ground up.
Mhm.
The bark, the leaves, the twigs, the branches, everything is coated with another microbiome, like our skin is coated with a microbiome,
Right, right.
and it's a soil microbiome. And uh, that so you can make a you can extract the biome from well-made compost
Mhm.
into water, and then water the ground with that water. And as long as the ground's not really dry and there's some water to get it into the dirt a little bit, you can inoculate the soil such that if there's plants growing there, the plants will keep those microbes growing, and you can. It's very quick to convert even a chemical farm into a regenerative farm. Uh, there isn't any legal certification yet, but just using compost extract or
Hmm.
compost tea too, that's a little bit different, but the same uh, effect with a little more work. But once the soil is inoculated and it's and uh, the farmer or the caretaker doesn't create conditions that kill microbes or destroy microbes, then and keeps conditions there that enhance microbes, then you're on your way to an old growth forest again. Really, it's really quick how fast the soil can be rejuvenated with an inoculant.
It sounds like there's a blueprint in nature for that to happen. So you just give
And
it
it
a little
doesn't take,
encouragement.
take
Yeah.
like 5 pounds of high organism count compost can treat an acre of dead farmland and start the transformation from chemical farming to regenerative, and only do that maybe for 2 or 3 years, and then you can cut way back. It's
Let,
just as
let,
long as you don't kill what you put in there.
let's just talk a couple minutes because we're actually only about 5, 6 minutes left. What about carbon? I know what I understand is not tilling doesn't release the carbon into the air where it doesn't belong. Talk about how regenerative actually can help the planet in terms of not carbon in the air and carbon in the soil and plants where we need it.
Yeah, thank you. That's excellent. Carbon is stored in the soil. Fungus fix carbon in a long-term form, so it's like in the soil for 100 years plus. It doesn't degrade. That's what fungus does. Agricultural soil, uh, conventional agricultural soil doesn't have any fungus at all, zero. So once you start helping the soil get back to its real biome, fungus gets established and it just starts to fix nitrogen. It can pull nitrogen out of the air very quickly and fix it for a long term in the soil. So the some people a lot smarter than me have done calculations that say that the capacity of the soil to extract carbon from the air, if like half of the world acreage went regenerative, that
Mm.
in just 2 or 3 decades, the atmospheric level of carbon would be back to pre-industrial levels, and the oceans would start to bubble out CO2, which will take a few hundred years, but the
You'll get
soil
most
can
of
hold
it.
easily all of the carbon that's in the atmosphere and has been uh, uh, released. And it's a twofer because all that carbon in the soil makes it that much more fertile and makes its production that much more abundant.
Well, does
So
all of this cost more? Why aren't we doing this? I mean,
it doesn't cost more. It eliminates the cost of fertilizers and pesticides for farmers. Uh, so the average cost for a farmer that changes to regenerative methods, his costs are 80% less,
wow.
many fewer tractor passes, a lot less, no chemicals. Anyway, with equal or better harvest with higher quality, because
Wow.
the, the soil biome produces better food than uh, fertilizers.
Okay, so the farmers pay less, the pesticide companies make more with the pesticides. But it is a direction to go that enhances human health, helps the planet in a number of ways. And so just to wrap it up, I'm just to go through a couple things as takeaways, because not everybody watching here I know is a farmer, although you can do a few things. You know, you can buy not only organic food as a starting place, but there are companies like Thrive, and I know Whole Foods sells regeneratively certified eggs, because I know the whole label of regenerative means different things. You know, there's some certifications that make you know that they are really doing the right things. You can go to farmers markets. In here where I live, we have a regenerative farm, and I'm going to put in the notes, there actually is a website where you can look up regenerative farms and see what's available in your area. And a lot of them, you know, come to other farmers markets. It's not just about going to them, or they have CSAs and stuff. Bill, you're offering also as a freebie.
Oh yeah. Uh, I don't know. I'll consult for half an hour or an hour with anybody uh, that wants to contact me. The easiest way to contact me is through email. My email address is soilfoodwebgardener
And we'll have that in the notes, and we'll have that
at Gmail.
actually so
Thank you.
that people can see it. Yeah. And it's in your bio. So check those things out. Learn to grow your own. And I'm going to list some websites where you can get some information about how you might start that. And also contact me with questions, with comments, with, you know, anything you know about this area. And if you want to do a 15-minute free consult or work with me around this area of health and food, which I've gone through a long journey with, that's something that's available to you as well. So right now we're just going to take a minute to center again in that part of us of who we are, the love, the joy, the peace. And this time we're just going to send it up to the highest force in the universe that you relate to, spirit, God, and just give it as a gift, your energy, your love, your light, to be used for the highest good, for the highest good of all concerned, of all of humanity, and for all of the planet, the plants, and all of God's creation. And thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. God bless. You have been listening to Soul Musings, exploring and embracing higher perspectives with me, Dr. Connie. Tune in every second Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific to learn how to use every experience for spiritual expansion and how to create the essence of the experience you want instead of the form. Learn about ways of living and working together that help build a more loving and cooperative world. Visit soulmusings.org to see more about what I offer and to book a 15-minute free consult.